Take a breath before you move on. Not because something is wrong, but because something inside you is asking for space. You've been trying to make sense of everything, connecting dots, replaying conversations, wondering if you did enough, said enough, waited long enough. And the truth is, you've been forcing clarity. But clarity doesn't arrive through pressure. It arrives through presence. There's a quiet shift that happens when you stop asking, "What am I supposed to do next?" and start noticing, "What is this moment asking of me?" That question changes how you listen. You begin to realize that not everything needs a reaction. Not every feeling needs a decision. Not every pause means something is wrong. Sometimes the pause is the progress. You're learning that peace doesn't come from having all the answers. It comes from trusting yourself enough to sit with uncertainty without panicking. That's growth. You've also started noticing how much of your energy was being spent on things that never truly fed you. Obligations that felt heavy, conversations that went in circles, expectations that were never yours to carry. And instead of fighting that awareness, you're finally honoring it. You're choosing simplicity over chaos, depth over noise, truth over comfort. That doesn't make you cold, it makes you clear. You're not pulling away from life, you're moving closer to what's real. You don't need constant validation anymore. You don't need every outcome to be perfect. You don't need to prove that you're doing enough. You're doing what's aligned, and that's always enough. There's a new kind of confidence forming in you now. Not loud, not performative. It's the confidence of someone who trusts their internal compass even when the path isn't fully visible. You know when to wait. You know when to move. You know when something feels right without needing approval. And because of that, life feels lighter. Not easier, but lighter. You're no longer carrying things that were never meant to be yours. And as you release that weight, you make room for something better, something steady, something honest, something that doesn't require you to lose yourself just to hold on to it. You don't need to rush this phase. It's doing important work. It's teaching you how to move forward without forcing, without fear, without leaving yourself behind. And that might be the most important shift of all. As you settle into this lighter way of moving, you may start to notice how different your inner dialogue sounds. It's quieter, less demanding, less critical. You're no longer constantly correcting yourself or questioning every choice the moment you make it. You're allowing decisions to breathe. Before, you needed reassurance quickly. You needed signs. You needed confirmation from outside of yourself. Now, you pause. You feel into it. And more often than not, you already know. That doesn't mean you never doubt. It means doubt doesn't control you anymore. You're learning that confidence isn't loud certainty, it's calm consistency. You don't explain your process to everyone. You don't defend your pace. You don't rush to justify why something matters to you. You're comfortable letting things unfold without announcing them prematurely. That restraint is new, and it's powerful. You've also become more aware of how energy moves around you. Some days feel open and expansive. Others feel inward and reflective. And instead of forcing productivity, you're starting to respect those rhythms. You're learning when to push and when to rest, when to speak and when silence holds more truth. This balance didn't come from perfection. It came from listening to yourself long enough to recognize what drains you and what restores you. You're no longer chasing momentum just to feel alive. You're choosing direction. And direction doesn't need to be fast.
It needs to be honest. There's a growing sense of trust within you now. Not just trust in life, but trust in your ability to handle whatever comes next. You've been through enough to know you can adapt, you can recalibrate, you can start again if needed. That knowledge grounds you. So when uncertainty shows up, it doesn't paralyze you, it invites curiosity. You're not asking, what if this goes wrong, as much as you're asking, what might this teach me? That shift changes everything. You're no longer waiting for the perfect moment to feel ready. You're realizing that readiness often shows up after you begin. And right now, you're in the middle of that beginning.
By now, you're no longer surprised by the change. You're starting to live inside it. Things that once demanded immediate answers now allow space. You don't rush to label experiences as good or bad. You let them reveal themselves. You've realized that not everything needs closure right away. Some things need time. Some truths arrive softly, not all at once. And that patience you're practicing, it's not passive, it's intentional. You're choosing awareness over anxiety, presence over prediction. You notice how certain patterns no longer repeat the same way. The old triggers still exist, but they don't hook into you like they used to. You feel them, you acknowledge them, and then you choose differently. That choice is subtle, but it's changing the architecture of your life. You're also becoming more selective with your energy, not in a defensive way, in a respectful one. You understand now that attention is currency. Where you place it matters. So you don't pour yourself into conversations that go nowhere. You don't invest deeply in dynamics that feel unstable or unclear. You're not cold, you're discerning. And discernment brings a kind of calm that chaos can't touch. There's a growing trust in your timing. You're not trying to catch up anymore. You're not comparing your progress to anyone else's. You're moving at a pace that feels sustainable, one you can actually live inside. That's new. You're also noticing that when you honor yourself this way, life responds differently. Opportunities don't feel forced. Connections feel more natural. Decisions feel less heavy. You're still learning, still adjusting, still refining, but you're no longer questioning whether you're on the right path. You may not see the full picture yet, but you recognize the direction. And for now, that's enough. At this stage, something deeper begins to settle in. You stop needing proof for every feeling. You stop replaying moments just to be sure you handled them right. You start trusting that your awareness is enough. There's a quiet confidence growing now. Not the kind that needs to be seen, but the kind that lets you sit comfortably with uncertainty. You no longer rush to fix discomfort. You let it pass. You let it teach. You let it dissolve on its own. That's how you know this isn't temporary growth. It's integration. You're beginning to notice how much of your past behavior was shaped by pressure rather than intention. Pressure to respond, pressure to please, pressure to keep things stable at the cost of yourself. That pressure doesn't guide you anymore. Now, when something feels misaligned, your body registers it before your mind argues. There's a subtle tightening, a quiet resistance, a knowing that doesn't need words. And instead of pushing past it, you listen. This changes how you relate to people. You don't over-explain. You don't overextend. You don't abandon your center to keep others comfortable. You allow pauses in conversations. You allow distance without panic. You allow space without assuming loss. That space becomes clarity.
You're also noticing how your desires are changing. What once felt urgent now feels optional. What once felt necessary now feels negotiable. And what truly matters? It feels simpler, cleaner, less complicated. You're drawn toward things that feel steady, not intense, sustainable, not dramatic. You're learning that peace doesn't arrive through control. It arrives through alignment. And alignment isn't something you chase, it's something you return to again and again. There's still movement ahead, still decisions to be made, still moments that will stretch you. But you're no longer afraid of that stretch, because you know now, you don't lose yourself when things change. You lose yourself when you ignore what you already know. And you're not doing that anymore.
And this is where everything quietly comes together. Not in a way that announces itself, but in a way you can finally feel. You realize you're no longer searching for permission, not from people, not from circumstances, not even from the past. You trust yourself now. Not because you have all the answers, but because you've proven again and again that you can meet life honestly. You don't abandon yourself when things get uncomfortable. You don't shrink to keep peace. You don't chase clarity through noise. You let clarity come to you. There's a steadiness in how you move forward now, a sense of inner agreement. Your thoughts, your choices, your energy, they're no longer pulling in opposite directions. You feel aligned. And that alignment changes how the future feels. It doesn't look intimidating anymore. It doesn't feel like something you have to outrun or control. It feels open, inviting, possible. You understand now that growth was never about becoming someone else. It was about returning to yourself, without fear, without apology, without hesitation. You didn't lose time. You didn't fall behind. You were learning how to hold what's next without losing who you are. And now you can. From here, life won't demand that you betray yourself to move forward. It won't require you to overextend, overexplain, or overperform. What comes next will meet you at your level of awareness, not your old survival patterns. You're allowed to move slowly. You're allowed to choose carefully. You're allowed to trust what feels steady instead of what feels urgent. This phase didn't make you distant. It made you rooted. It didn't close your heart. It taught you how to protect it without hiding. And whatever unfolds next, whatever doors open, whatever paths shift, you'll recognize it. Not by pressure, not by fear, but by ease. Because when something is right, your body knows, your mind settles, and your spirit doesn't need convincing. You're here now, present, clear, grounded. And from this place, you don't have to chase what's meant for you. It will find you because you finally stayed with yourself long enough to receive it.